Good evening. Is this on? Can you hear me?
I cannot.
Testing. Can you hear me? Okay. Good evening. We'd like to get this meeting started. They can't hear me. Good evening. If we can please get this meeting to order. Ms. Richards, may I please get roll call?
Yes, ma'am. Vice President, Ms. Van Hook, let the record show that all 5 board members are present this evening.
Thank you. Please join me in a moment of silence, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. I motion to approve the agenda.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All oppose? Ms. Richards, can you give us the superintendent's report, please?
Yes, Vice President Van Hook. Tonight in Higley Adventures, we have an exciting announcement. Can I have IT pull up? There we go. We have an exciting announcement, and we want to introduce the Spartan Boys Cross Country Team as they are the East Valley Conference champions again. Building off the success they had last year, this team supported one another and overcame challenges throughout the season to win Sossaman's first ever back-to-back championship.
All right. Good evening, cabinet members and governing board. Thank you so much for having us here tonight and for your support of HUSD athletics. While we are here, well, actually, let's go back to last year. About this time last year, we were here doing the exact same thing. And so although we are celebrating something very similar, we also did 2 things this year that we have never done before. And so first, I would like to invite Tay Jim to come right out front here. Tay loves the spotlight, so this is great for him. So Tay is our first ever individual champion in cross country for Sossaman Middle School. Tay beat over 190 other racers and beat his closest competitor by 10 seconds, finishing first overall in the race. Congratulations, Tay. The other first that we're celebrating, this is the first time we have ever had a Sossaman team go back-to-back championships. And then here's a quick word from Coach Halleck.
Good evening. We just wanted to take a moment, Lisa and I, and just congratulate our team. You guys have done a phenomenal job. Thank you so much for our parent support that we've had all season, for our admin support, and for your guys' hard work. We are so proud of you guys. You did a phenomenal job, overcame barriers this season, and really worked hard to win it for our whole team. Thank you guys so much.
And we look forward to seeing you all back next year.
going to take a picture. Kate, Coach Halleck, I noticed the back of your shirt, and I think your kids have them on too. Will you turn around so everybody can read it? Why is everyone chasing me?
Well done, Chance. Well done. I am curious to see this. Oh, look, I'm married.
Next, we don't have a screen. Oh, no. There we are. We want to congratulate our very own Higley Public Information and Marketing team. I'm going to read their highlights and then have them come up here and embarrass. Yes? Are you the only one here? Well, then you can stand up here by yourself. And Mr. Armstrong will take your picture. All right. Each year, the Arizona School Public Relations Association recognizes standards of excellence in public school relations through its Aspiration Awards. This year, Higley's team, led by Miss Jessica Batista, who's going to stand and come forward. You're not getting out of it. Her entire team is being recognized for newsletter. That includes the Higley Highlights newsletter, video series produced in-house. That includes the Principal Spotlight series, branding image package, HUSD brand guidelines, and multimedia marketing campaign, Enroll Now campaign. So make sure we all enroll. So we have kids in our schools that are thrilled to be here. I can't even believe, look at that picture. Does that look like a great team? You want to say anything? All right, we'll have Armstrong. Do you know how to use that camera?
Yeah, it's better than that other guy who's like, we're done. No, he's not.
All right, next we move on to our points of pride. Can Amy coach us? Come forward. Is Marcia with you? Yes, come forward. These are our amazing preschool director and assistant director to announce their points of pride.
Thank you so much for this incredible opportunity to recognize our incredible staff, students, and family. We're going to start tonight with the reason we're here, one of our students.
Hi, thank you. I'm proud to honor our student that won our points of pride. His name is Lucas Wanger. If I could have him come on down with his teacher, Mrs. Campazano, his preschool teacher, you both can join us. I know, it's so exciting. It's so wonderful. I have a special message for you, Lucas, and we have a prize for you and a present. So I'm going to present to you, Lucas, why you won our points of pride to your family. So Lucas is a shining example of kindness, leadership, and inclusivity at Cooley ECDC, and he's truly deserving of recognition as a point of pride recipient. As he completes his second year as a little cougar, Lucas has consistently demonstrated a remarkable willingness to learn and a natural curiosity, just like we're seeing right now, and an exceptional ability to include others in his classroom with joy. And so from the moment new students joined his class, Lucas made them feel welcome and warmly greeted them by saying hello, creating a sense of belonging for everyone. His thoughtful nature extends beyond classroom interactions. Lucas actively ensures that no one is left out, always taking the initiative to invite his peers to play. He and offers ideas and shares his learning space. He brings out the best in others by supporting their participation, making sure everyone feels valued. His kindness is not limited to his classmates. He goes above and beyond to brighten the day of the others by sending encouraging notes in the special mailbox in class, remembering classmates who are absent and offering a comforting pat on the back. So his positive spirit's contagious and his smile lights up the playground. He's an exceptional student, friend, and leader, and we're incredibly fortunate to have him a part of our Cooley family. Congratulations. So, Lucas, I have a question for you. Who did you come with tonight in your car? Is it your family? Who's that guy? That's a tough question in front of all these people.
Mom, do you want to say brother and sister's name in the microphone?
That's hard. I was shy too. Mommy, you brought mom and dad? Nicholas, mom, dad, and Nicholas. And Eliana. Congratulations. We'll go ahead and have you walk down back to your seat. So much to say about that little one.
All right, the next individual we'd love to recognize is Miss Meredith Montoya. Come on up. A little bit about Meredith. Meredith, our ECDC PTO president, has truly been an exceptional leader and a wonderful asset to our school community. From the very beginning, she has shown unwavering positivity and dedication to supporting our staff and students. Although her student attends Sossaman ECDC, she has consistently made her presence known at our Cooley campus. She comes every week, checking in, delivering t-shirts, and offering her support. Her willingness to listen, collaborate, and help find solutions has made her an invaluable resource to our team. Her infectious positivity, welcoming nature, and fun-loving spirit have created a warm and inclusive environment for everybody. She was instrumental this year in supporting our ECDC during our business partner breakfast and proposed the successful Higley Helps initiative, providing treats to our incredible Sossaman Middle School teachers the day after Halloween, which is very important. And Meredith's commitment and tireless efforts have made a lasting impact on our school. We're so grateful for her. Congratulations. Oh, and before you leave, who did you bring with you?
My family and my in-laws.
Congratulations. Oh, and actually, you're going to stay up here. Sorry.
Okay, Okay, up next, I'm happy to award our certified recipient, our recertified staff. And it goes to Susie Jonda, if you would come on down. So Mrs. Jonda has made an extraordinary and lasting impact on Cooley ECDC campus in her first year as an itinerant resource special education teacher. In this short time, she's built strong connections with staff, families, and students, providing invaluable support to teaching teams and offering resources that enhance best practices for our youngest learners. Mrs. Jonda goes above and beyond by constantly seeking innovative ways to improve classroom environments to foster optimal learning and success. Her dedication not only strengthens the connections within the classroom, but also ensures that all learners develop the skills necessary for lifelong success. Mrs. Jonda's thoughtful collaboration with the teaching team, her keen attention to the unique needs of each student, and her warm, engaging presence has made her a beloved and vital part of our school. Whether playing with students during centers, participating in class meetings, or supporting students on the playground, Mrs. Jonda creates an environment where every child feels seen, valued, and excited to learn. We're incredibly grateful for the difference that she's made, and our students continue to flourish because of her impact. Mrs. Jonda, who did you bring with you tonight?
I brought my wonderful husband, Brian, and my youngest son, Luke.
Very nice, thank you.
And finishing out Cooley, last but absolutely certainly not least, Miss Mona Schuyler.
There's fight.
Sorry, that's my notes. I'll pick it up. We are proud to nominate Mona Schuyler for our Cooley Classified Points of Pride. Mona has been an indispensable presence of Cooley. She is consistently going above and beyond in her role. As the face of Cooley, she's the heart of our school, creating a welcoming environment for every student, staff member, and family. Mona's unwavering dedication and exceptional service to her colleagues make her an invaluable part of our team. She plays a key role in ensuring the smooth operation, and I mean smooth, operation of our front office, and continues to support the success of our school through her organization, problem-solving skills, and outstanding leadership. Throughout the transition of new administration, Mona has been a steady bridge, making the process seamless for everyone involved. Her hard work, attention to detail, and countless hours spent ensuring everything runs smoothly never goes unnoticed. Mona's contributions go far beyond her job description. She's a true partner, a true friend, working tirelessly to ensure both centers are taken care of as a team and that staff members feel very supported. Mona Schuyler is the backbone of Cooley, and we are incredibly grateful for her dedication, passion, and commitment to our entire school community. Congratulations. And who did you bring with you?
I brought my husband Dave and Lauren, and then some Cooley team members, so thank you.
Big shout out, Cooley. Okay, we're gonna take a picture.
There you go.
And as Ms. Richards said, we're not leaving. We have a second program we'd love to shout out and share incredible staff members, family, and students. So this time, we're going to start with our certified staff member, Madeline Marcel, if you can come on up. Congratulations. Oh. Madeline is an exceptional teacher whose unwavering positivity and dedication shines through all aspects of her work. She consistently demonstrates a remarkable willingness to help others, whether supporting her students or assisting her peers. Her positive attitude remains steadfast, even in the faces of challenges, such as navigating the transition during a para loss this year and training a new one. Throughout these hurdles, she maintains her calm, staged focus, keeping her spirits high, and setting a wonderful example for everyone around her. Beyond her adaptability, Madeline's kindness and respect towards both students and colleagues are evident in every interaction. Her commitment extends to initiatives like the Higley Helps program, where she contributed by sharing treat bags with her students again that day after Halloween for our Sossaman Middle School. And she creates an environment that encourages growth and success for her students. She's truly a joy to work with. She embodies both professional excellence and personal warmth in everything she does. Thank you so much. Congratulations. And who did you bring with you?
I brought my husband, Jeff, and my son, Alex.
Congratulations. If you want to remain up here.
I'm happy to announce our Points of Pride recipient for our volunteer, Lauren Camp. Come on down. So Lauren is an invaluable member of our preschool team, consistently going above and beyond in her contributions. Whether in the classroom, cafeteria, or on the playground, she's always ready to lend a helping hand wherever needed. Her dedication extends beyond her scheduled responsibility as a middle school TA. Yes, we're honoring yes. And she volunteers each morning before middle school starts without any expectation of recognition. Lauren plays an integral part and role in supporting the classroom and ensuring the smooth operation of the school day. She's not only attentive to her own tasks, but also takes initiative to support her fellow middle school TAs, making sure they're prepared and ready to leave on time. Her positivity is infectious, and her constant smile makes her a blessing to all who work with her. With 2 years of classroom assistance under her belt, she's proven herself to be a reliable, proactive, and uplifting presence on the campus. Congratulations. So Lauren, who have you brought here tonight with you?
My mom and dad.
Wonderful. Thank you.
And here's your...
All right, and again, the reason we're here, one of our students, I would like Jay Trout to come on up. And Jay is coming with his teacher, Miss Garrett, who was the person who nominated you. Congratulations. We would like to nominate Jay for Sossaman. Miss Garrett shared that Jay is so full of life. She loves hearing that "Good morning, Miss Garrett," as he comes in. As Jay greets her at the door each morning, she really enjoys that. When he walks into the kinder prep classroom, the whole room lights up with his energetic spirit. The students look forward to his arrival because they can't wait to build those colorful towers with him on the rug and to chase hula hoops together at recess. Jay is such a happy and enthusiastic learner. He is always contributing and adding to their class discussions with a big smile on his face. And you can bet that Jay has a funny, real-life story to connect what he's learning about. He is a friend to all and a leader in the classroom, and we are so proud of you. Congratulations, Jay. Just get a high five with all your hands up. Congratulations. Guess what? Can I ask you a question? Who did you bring with you?
Mommy and Daddy and Livy.
Oh, let's see. Where are they? Wave. There they are.
Can you wait here so we can take the photo?
Okay. We just one more.
Okay, we're going to finish it off with our classified Points of Pride recipient, Miss Nicole Camp. Come on down. We are honored to nominate Nicole Camp for the Classified Points of Pride Award in recognition of her unwavering dedication, exceptional service, and tireless commitment to the Sossaman ECDC community. As the office manager, Nicole has been an invaluable support during a time of significant transition and growth. She's navigated the challenges of a leadership change with grace and professionalism, ensuring that Sossaman's team's needs were met and that the 24-25 school year began seamlessly. Nicole is the face of Sossaman. She's creating a welcoming, supportive, and inclusive environment for students, staff, and families alike. Her exceptional organization, attention to detail, and positive attitude are evident in everything she does. She's often one of the first to arrive each day, ready to set the stage for a successful day ahead. Nicole's deep care for Sossaman School family shines through her willingness to go above and beyond, making her an essential part of our success. It is with immense gratitude and admiration that we nominate Nicole for this well-deserved recognition.
Thanks.
And Nicole, who did you bring tonight?
I brought my incredible daughter, my family, and my school family.
Wonderful.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Congratulations. Thank you. We love your mom. Oh, if I'm doing it. All right. Now I need Principal Kelly Papke and Assistant Principal Chrissy DeBono from Cortina Elementary.
Good evening, everyone. Board members, cabinet, thank you so much for having us here. We are thrilled to be able to recognize some of our shining stars. This is always just a really neat night, and it's great to see all of the people here to support our amazing team members. So we're going to start off with our certified staff member. And individuals that are being recognized tonight, you're going to come up, as you saw, you'll stay up here. We'll take a picture, and don't forget to mention who you brought to celebrate you with. All right, so our certified staff member, I want to congratulate Miss Mina Cosme. Come on up. Mrs. Cosme is a third grade teacher at Cortina, and she embodies all that it means to be a lifelong learner. Mrs. Cosme has been a teacher at Cortina since 2016. During her time here, she has touched the lives of so many, and she has helped contribute to a culture for learning and positivity. As a third grade teacher with many years of experience, she actively seeks new strategies and methods to reach her students by taking classes and implementing new ideas that she learns. This keeps learning fresh and engaging for her students and demonstrates her willingness to ensure that her students are getting the best learning experiences each and every day. Her sincere nature enables her to establish trusting relationships with stakeholders and helps foster a learning environment where students feel safe and cared for. Mrs. Cosme is intentional and focused on meeting the unique needs of each of her students. She does this by planning data-driven, differentiated learning experiences and offering small group instruction and interventions. Mrs. Cosme consistently collaborates with her team, supporting the goals of the grade level and our school. She is also involved outside of her classroom through NEHS and participating in service projects. She is a role model, demonstrating a quiet yet powerful strength. She prioritizes others, stays true to her commitments, and finds beauty and joy in the journey of lifelong learning. We are so fortunate that Mrs. Cosme chooses to be a member of the Tiger team. Congratulations. And who did you bring with you tonight?
I brought my loving family and my wonderful Cortina family.
Good evening. I'm Chrissy DeBono, the proud assistant principal of Cortina Elementary, and I have the great privilege and honor of recognizing our classified staff member of the month. So please join me in welcoming up front Ms. Auralia Carranza. Hardworking, efficient, and dependable are three words that come to mind to describe Ms. Auralia. She is our day custodian here at Cortina, and our campus shines brightly each day thanks to the wonderful job Auralia demonstrates. She is quick on her feet, answering every radio call and being proactive in addressing needs as she sees them, often before even Mrs. Papke and I can see them. She's addressing them. She maintains the highest levels of professionalism in her role and is thoughtful in her approach to ensuring that her daily tasks are not only accomplished, but plans for the next day are in place and materials and setups are arranged, ready to go. We never have to fret about what's to come. She's got it taken care of. Auralia supports our lunchtime schedule and has positive interactions with our students, helping them learn appropriate mannerisms while eating, supporting both their natural curiosity through conversation with them, and also ensuring that our students have a safe and fun place to eat and socialize. Auralia has been with Cortina for several years, and our school just would not be the same without her. So thank you, Auralia, for sharing your caring and generous spirit with us all, and congratulations on your recognition.
Thank you.
And Auralia, who did you bring with you tonight?
Oh, thank you, my family and Cortina. Yes. Is my family here.
Hello, family.
Thank you.
All right, it is time to recognize our student. So let's have Claire Hartman come on up to the front. All right. When I think of this student, a couple of words, adjectives in particular, come to mind that align with our ROARS expectations and the character traits that we focus on regularly at Cortina. These words are respectful, responsible, and caring. Claire is a fifth grade student leader at Cortina, being involved in NEHS and Tiger Ambassadors. She not only focuses on ensuring that she is meeting all of her roles and responsibilities as a student, but she also models for others what it means to be a tiger who roars. As an ambassador, Claire can be seen greeting students as they enter the gate and assisting with our kindergartners during lunches. When she interacts with others, you can quickly see the compassion, care, and joy that she shares with those around her. Just an example of her caring heart. One morning when a kindergarten student was reluctant to leave their mom and enter the gate for school, Claire leaned down, offering reassurance and guidance to the student, which helped put them at ease, and the student then willingly entered the gate with her, ready for a day of learning. This is just one example of how she makes a difference at our school. Through her participation in service projects, school activities, and going out of her way to include others in and out of class, sharing a story with teachers and staff, Claire's heart of service and her joyful spirit shines bright. Claire's teacher shared that Claire is an absolute doll. Those were her words. She is the hardest worker and is very determined to learn and understand the concepts being taught in class. She supports anyone in need, going the extra mile to help others and be a friend. Claire is someone who possesses, I'm missing part of this. I can ad-lib, but I want to share what her teacher said. Claire possesses many character traits such as honesty, compassion, fairness, responsibility, trustworthiness, and respect. Thank you, Claire, for being a strong example of a tiger who roars and for going out of your way to spread kindness and a spirit of community across our school. Cortina would not be the same without you, Claire. And I just want to say, this is a young lady that I have had the pleasure of just being able to watch her grow and flourish. She's overcome some challenges and has just blossomed and bloomed in so many ways, and being a student leader and just doing amazing things on our campus and truly making an impact for others at Cortina. So thank you and congratulations, Claire. Do you want to share who you brought with you?
I brought my family and some of my teachers.
Good job, sweetheart.
Please join me in welcoming Ms. Katie Patterson, our volunteer Points of Pride recognition, to the front of the room. Thank you. Katie, her husband, and their 3 boys joined our Cortina family this school year after moving from California, and she welcomed the opportunity immediately to volunteer at our school and has been a wonderful addition to everyday life on our campus. Katie works hard to ensure that our staff and students are supported through time in the classroom, working with students, and time outside of the school day, preparing teacher materials, including fabulous bulletin boards and other resources that our teachers greatly appreciate. Our hallways are always brightened with her creative designs, and her warm and friendly nature brings smiles to every single individual she interacts with on campus. Katie's invested in our school's motto, impacting the future one child at a time, because she seeks to make sure that each student in her 3 boys' classroom has what they need and never shies away from an opportunity to help. Katie is on campus nearly every day of the week and everywhere around campus, doing what is best for our staff and students. Our campus would not be the same without her generous spirit, and we cannot thank you enough, Katie, for all you continue to do. And I have to share this little story. I believe in serendipitous moments in the world, and we always get excited when we have new families join us. And through a mutual friend, a friend had shared, oh, the Patterson family is coming to Cortina. And through some reflection, I realized I taught her brother-in-law when he was in 4th grade, and our families know each other from our time in Tucson together, and it was just this exciting moment to feel like a full circle. So we are so incredibly grateful you choose Cortina, and congratulations. Thank you for all you do. All right. Oh, Katie, who did you bring?
My husband and my 3 boys.
Next on the agenda, we have requests to speak. Can you please play the video?
Ms. Van
Oh.
Hook, can we do upcoming events real quick? No problem.
I am so sorry. I totally skipped over that.
It's okay. Upcoming events include next Wednesday, the 22nd. We have a board work study session here. It starts at 5 p.m. Next Thursday, cabinet and board are invited to Cortina Elementary for a school visit. January 28th, Tuesday, is Kinder Roundup at all of our elementary campuses. Please invite your neighbors and let's fill up these sessions. And on Thursday, January 30th at 6 p.m. here in the district office boardroom, we have a social media and a youth development parent event. And that concludes upcoming events.
There we are. All right, thank you for that. Next on the agenda is request to speak. Can you please play the video?
We value input from our constituents. This time on our agenda has been set aside for anyone from the audience who wishes to address the board. Those that wish to speak should have filled out speaker cards, which are due prior to the start of our meeting. Members of the board may not discuss, comment, or take action on matters raised that are not specifically identified on the agenda. Therefore, pursuant to ARS 38-431.01I, action taken as a result of public comment will be limited to directing staff to study the matter, responding to any criticism, or scheduling the matter for further consideration and decision at a later date. Also, we ask that audience members practice proper public meeting decorum, refraining from either negative or positive responses, including clapping or verbal outbursts, to ensure fairness to all points of view. Those that refuse to follow these rules may be asked to leave. In accordance with Policy BEDH public participation at board meetings, if considered necessary, the governing board president shall set a time limit on the length of the comment period in order to ensure that each individual has an opportunity to address the board. The president may also set a time limit for individual speakers. Thank you for your cooperation.
First up is Heather Balch.
Oh, there we go. Good evening and Happy New Year. I just wanted to say hello to our new board for the next 2 years before our vote. There was one topic on the agenda that I did want to address. I saw that we are considering moving our start time back to 5 o'clock, which I'm in full support of. It's difficult when these meetings run as late as they sometimes do, and that moving it back to that 5 o'clock start time would be beneficial, I think, for a lot of us. The other point that I want to bring up, and I've been trying to think of how to tactfully say this, is that I think Higley has a really good problem. We have so many amazing teachers and classified staff members and amazing teams and championships, and I think it's great that we celebrate it. I really do. I don't want this to come across that I don't want to celebrate it. But I think maybe moving forward, perhaps at the beginning of next school year, we look at maybe revamping the way we do things so that we're not spending 45 minutes to an hour on the celebrations before the meeting starts. That's it. Thank you.
Next up is Timothy Chow. That's okay. I'll call the next person. Thank you. Kim Jackson.
Good evening, district members, administrators, parents, and students. My name is Kim Jackson. I stand before you today to advocate for the addition of a physical education release time option or independent PE into our high schools and junior high schools. This idea is not new. Neighboring districts such as Gilbert Public Schools and Chandler Unified School Districts have already successfully implemented unique programs, and it's time for us to consider the same opportunity for our students. The concept is simple yet impactful. A physical education release time option allows students who are actively involved in organized sports or other structured physical activities outside of school to fulfill their PE requirements without taking up valuable space in our already crowded PE classes. This program would decrease the risk associated with high student numbers in physical education classes and create a safer, more effective environment for students who do participate on campus. Beyond addressing logistical concerns, this option provides academic benefit. By freeing up a class period, students can focus more on their core subjects or pursue additional electives that align with their passions and career goals. Whether it's taking an advanced math class or a dual enrollment course or exploring the arts, students would have time to engage more deeply in their academic journey without compromising their physical fitness. Furthermore, this program acknowledges the hard work and dedication of students who already spend hours training and competing outside of school. From club soccer players to competitive dancers, these students are meeting and often exceeding the physical education requirements. Providing them the flexibility to earn credit while continuing to excel in their extracurricular activities is a step toward recognizing and supporting their efforts. As we look to Gilbert and Chandler as examples, we can see that this is practical and proven solution that benefits students, teachers, and the district as whole. It promotes a safer environment, eases schedule pressures, and allows for more personalized education experience. It also should be considered an amenity. Our district is in need of exciting, innovative, and creative ways to attract families and in turn students to its campuses. This new amenity could do exactly that. Let's take this opportunity to show our students that we value their individual needs and are committed to providing them with an education that supports their success in both in and out of the classroom. Thank you. If I can please make this a call for action to have the board and admin look into this. I have paperwork from Gilbert Public Schools of how they do this. And Chandler in particular has, it's called Elite Performance Academy. Both things are available on Gilbert Public Schools website as well as Chandler Unified District's website as well. Is the next person Janae Mason?
Not yet.
Okay.
Thank you. Marianne Peskowski?
Good evening, board. I come here to discuss our agenda points 5.1 and number 8. Number 8, dealing with our start time. I'm not sure if the board realizes that the middle school families who are involved in after-school tutoring and after-school clubs, those don't get out till 5 p.m. or 5:30 p.m. So if we move the meetings back to 5 p.m., you are disenfranchising the middle school families of Higley Unified. Considering the fact that Higley Unified is fighting to keep families, it might not be a good idea to disenfranchise the middle school families who feed into our high school programs. Furthermore, when it comes to number 5.1 and our Higley vote this evening for president and vice president, I would really like to see Miss Anna as president because she has put in the time, the effort, and continually reaches out to the community for various viewpoints. I think she is very deserving of that position as president. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Next up is Dave Berner.
Good evening, Board. Thank you for your time and your volunteering. I know what it takes. My background is that of a CEO and working with CEOs, and I'm here to talk about my interfacing and working with Anna Van Hoek over the last couple of years. I have found her to be outstanding. He is a dedicated, well-informed individual. I run a meeting a little bit of 2 miles, 3 miles from here. We have 150 members. I ask Anna to come in every now and then and represent the school district, and she comes well prepared. She knows all the topics. She puts together a PowerPoint presentation, and she presents an incredible representation of this board and the volunteers that are here today. And I think that she would just be an outstanding president of the board. So I want to recommend that you vote for her as being president. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next up is Linda Payne.
Board members, and welcome to the new ones that are here, and administration. My name is Linda Payne, and I'm a member of this community. And I'm also talking to, I don't even know if you voted to put in a new president or not, but if you haven't, I also would like to really encourage you to put in Anna. She has not missed any meetings that I know of to vote. She has done her homework every time she does the research. She really has, in my opinion, shown that she loves this district and she wants to make it work. And I think she would be an amazing board president. And the other thing is that the time that you want to change from 6 o'clock to 5 o'clock, there are so many parents that cannot come. And we're talking to parents a lot, trying to get more and more of them to come, but 5 o'clock is just out of, there's too many things going on at 5 o'clock, and 6 o'clock is a much better time. And with most of the parents that I talk to, they would really prefer the 6 o'clock time. And I really think as a board member, board members, you need to listen to the parents and community here. I know last year when you voted on the dress code, it was such a disappointment because we had so many people here that were against changing the dress code. And for whatever reason, you decided to go ahead and change it. And it has, it has really run a lot of the parents away from this school district. You're losing so many students that would like to come here, but because of the decisions that were made on a lot of the things last year, they don't want to. They want to go to a different school, and they've gone. A lot of them have already left, and we really need to encourage them to try to stay because you have a lot of really good programs here. But if you would just consider these things, and I thank you for your time.
Thank you. Next up, Kathleen Richards.
Good evening, Board and District Administration. Happy New Year. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. I wanted to take a moment. My own life reminded me that perhaps there are others in the same situation, and that is around the tax credit that families are able in Arizona to dedicate to our public school systems. This is not something unique to Higley District. You do not have to live within Higley School District. You just have to live in the state of Arizona. So for example, my own parents who live in Gilbert Public School District make sure to donate their tax credit to one of my daughter's schools. We have an elementary school student and a middle school student. And the end of the year came and went, and I realized that I had not done my part of sending our donation to realize that we're still able to do that until April. And given the fact that our community did not pass the continuation of the M&O override line item on our ballots in 2024, the impacts of which you can see already in our agenda tonight discussing the cuts of teachers from our elementary schools, our high schools, our middle schools, 11 transportation individuals potentially cut. These are cuts that are going to affect every single family. So if there is a small way that you would like to have a positive financial impact and perhaps did not have an opportunity before December 31st to do so, I just wanted to be a voice to remind our community that that opportunity still exists, and it is still something that you can do through the Higley website, or you can do at the individual sites. And I just wanted to thank our current sitting board, especially those members who have made it very clear how deeply you support public schools, and specifically the Higley Unified School District. You speak about our district in positive ways. This is not to say that you do not ask for improvements where improvements are needed, and I look forward to seeing what those genuine public school supporters have to do for us in the remainder of 2025. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up is Janae Mason.
I'm speaking for Janae Mason with her permission, and the paperwork's been filled out.
Ms. Van Hook, this is Jennifer McLennan. You can't substitute a speaker in the public comment. The person has to actually be present for the public comment to occur.
Oh, we've done that before. That's why I thought it was okay.
You have done. Okay, so Ms. Richards is telling me that you have done that before. Okay, advice of counsel is that you not do that in the future, since it has been a past practice and there wasn't notice to this individual. We could permit that today, but going forward, you should require individuals to be present.
Thank you. Go ahead, Ms. Jackson.
I'd like to push back on that. Some parents can't make it, and the fact that she can't make it tonight is because she's at a wrestling match for the junior high school, and her son was part of the cross-country club that actually won the award tonight. So she would be here, but she's at a sports event. Dear Higley School Board members, my name is Janae Mason. I'm a parent of 3 children within the district. I have one in elementary, middle school, and high school. I'm also a former physical education teacher. I taught in Mesa, and I am a huge advocate for PE. I am also a current fitness trainer. I know the many benefits firsthand of a quality program and believe Higley has one. But today, to just suggest that some children can gain many benefits like teamwork, health, coordination, and many other skills in either a team and/or an individual sports program. I believe greatly in our school district. However, it has proven difficult for my teens to manage sports and homework due to the early morning or late evenings of practice. My teen boys are up till at least 10 almost every night doing homework, but many times they have been up till 11 or 12. I know that a 6-hour PE release time would give my boys an extra hour to get homework done, allowing them to get to bed at a more reasonable time. I am for a 6-hour PE release time for these students that are involved in our extracurricular sports within our schools or within our community. Please consider this program to help our youth within the district manage their academic and extracurricular sports. This can improve grades and healthier sleep schedules by allowing them to get to bed earlier. Thank you for your time this evening. Sincerely, Janae Mason.
Thank you so much. And Ms. Richards, if we can obtain some information, I'd love to get more info on that. Thank you so much.
Absolutely.
All right, now on to 5.2, election of, I'm sorry? Or 5.1, sorry, it's written incorrectly on here. 5.1, election of governing board president. We will now take nominations for governing board president.
I move to nominate Vice President Van Hook as president. While we may not agree with every decision Ms. Van Hook makes, her dedication and transparency in this district is truly admirable. Over the past 2 years, her thorough research and detailed explanations and questions related to agenda items and diligent oversight has given parents confidence in the process. Ms. Van Hook remains a strong advocate for accountability and transparency, always working to support the best interests of our students and district.
I'd like to nominate
All right. I'd also like to nominate myself. Over the last 2 years, I've worked hard to improve our district by focusing on transparency in curriculum, finances, and operations. My goal has always been to build trust between the district and our community and make sure resources are used effectively. I've pushed to ensure that funding goes directly to the classroom where it benefits students and teachers the most, while ensuring that raises are financially sustainable in the long term. I've applied my knowledge of state laws to protect districts from potential legal challenges, helping to shape policies that ensure accountability and compliance. I've been actively involved in key policies like making sure our counselors don't cross a line that could lead to serious legal consequences, creating a vaccination policy to ensure parents are informed about exemptions, and speaking up when the district was at risk at violating state laws by using taxpayer money for race-based training. Additionally, I brought to light the issue of inappropriate content accessible to our elementary students through the Pebble Go application, which was ultimately blocked from our students. Even with a full-time job, family, and my advocacy work, I prioritize staying involved in both the district and the community. I've attended every board meeting, retreat, and study session for the last 2 years, leading by example with my perfect attendance, making sure I'm always prepared, doing my research to ensure I'm asking the right questions, not just to inform myself, but to educate the public. I'm often the only one asking questions that helps us understand what's really going on. I've also attended the new teacher orientation for the last 2 years in a row and show up to as many district events as possible because I'm committed to supporting our schools, teachers, and students. Thank you so much. Any other nominations? Actually,
I have a question. Does there need to be Ms. McClellan, can you please clarify for me before I nominate?
So typically in a nomination from the floor, which is what you're doing, you would receive all nominations and then the board would vote in the order received.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'd like to nominate Board Member Wade for president for the 2025 school year. Board Member Wade cares deeply about the Higley School District and public education. She too has attended every meeting, has volunteered, attends school visits, and after school visits when she can. And I think she would be a great asset to to run the meetings for us as well.
Are seconds required? Okay.
No, seconds are not required for the nomination process. Thank you for asking, Mr. Glover.
Well, thank you.
Any other nominations?
No, I don't have a nomination, but I feel, considering my name is out there, I'd at least like to express some things. I'm appreciative of that. I think my schedule is definitely conducive to being able to go to a lot of the events. I care a lot about Higley, and I care a lot about the things that take place here and how we continue to move forward and be a district in which that is not only recognized in our area as a district you wish to send your kids to, but a district across the state and beyond. I do wish to correct, I did miss one meeting. I just wanted to correct. Because when I was elected, I had a previously scheduled cruise that I did not miss. But outside of that, I do routinely attend those events. The things that I have the hardest time going to would be evening events because I have young children. I don't know about the two newest board members, but I'm the only one with both kids still solidly in elementary. So I'm appreciative of that. Obviously, should that be the way things vote, I would be more than happy to, do what I can for Higley.
All right. All in favor for for me as president? Aye. All in favor of Amanda being board president?
Aye.
Aye.
All right. Amanda is the new board president. And do you want to run it now?
Typically, the board president would then take over, so.
All right, so now we move on to agenda item 5.2, election of governing board president. We will now accept, or sorry, vice president. We will now accept nominations for vice president.
I will nominate myself for vice president.
I'd like to nominate Ms. Schultz.
Any other nominations? Okay, cool. So all those in favor for Anna Van Hook as vice president?
Aye. Aye.
All those in favor for Tiffany Schultz as vice president?
Aye.
Aye.
I will also be an aye. So Tiffany will be vice president. This is where I now can continue on, or do we need to move, or do you want us to keep us here?
Well, would have the new president take the middle seat
Sure.
with the vice president on the side.
All right. Sweet.
So, and then I think Christine we can help with name tags or.
We will take a 3-minute recess while we rearrange.
There you go.
Musical chair.
All right, to those lovely audience members who are also cold at the present moment in time, I too have put on my jacket. I am being told that we are figuring it out. I would say, those of you who are teachers, just keep pushing it over and over again, Ms. Richards. It'll go eventually. You have the power, whereas they just say. That's unfortunate. All right. Has that been 3 minutes? I have no idea at what time I said 3 minutes. All right, cool, good talk. I motion to approve consent agenda items 6.1 through 6.14.
Second.
We no longer do the time for it, right? All those in favor?
Aye.
Excuse me. Aye. I'm sorry.
Aye.
I apologize.
All those opposed? Sorry. Motion passes 5-0. Go ahead,
I
Ms. Van
just
Hook.
want to mention, item 6.14 was added very late yesterday, before the agenda went live. I don't know if it was just like a last minute thing that was added, but if we can be notified a little bit ahead of time, just to kind of give us time to be able to review the document being added, that'd be wonderful. Thank you.
Okay. This moves us on to, hold on, now I've got two agendas in front of me, sorry. Yeah, no, ADHD is real. Information item 7.1, first review of 2025-2026 maintenance and operations budget. We will now hear from Mr. Moore on the first review of the 25-26 maintenance and operations budget.
Yeah, thank you, President Wade, members of the board. Tonight we'll be presenting the first review of the FY26 M&O budget. Some feedback. I think it's All right, maybe that works. There we go. So just a reminder for our new board members and our community is our Arizona School District budget timeline. As our board knows and most of our constituents, we operate on a fiscal year that is not a calendar year. And so our budget that we're looking at today is in preparation for our July next year, school year. And so our timeline hasn't changed in the last few years, but we are working towards that June timeline in which we propose and officially adopt this budget when those final forms come out. But as our board knows, we issue contracts in March. And so the reason we bring forth this budget early and look at projections early is to get the board comfortable with a tentative approval to give us authority to issue contracts in March. So again, we're working for that June timeline. And so we're 6 months out, and so you'll see a lot of the information in this presentation, estimates and information to come. But we do have some knowns that we've started to project out. So looking at kind of the knowns and what is taking into assumption in this presentation and our projected budget numbers. On the far left, you've heard this term several times, and it's not going away, but the aggregate expenditure limit, or AEL, there is some optimism that it will be exempted, or there'll be some permanent legislative exemption in this state budget process that is currently just undertaken this week. And so there's been some bills proposed to potentially include the aggregate expenditure limit exemption in the K-12 or state budget process. So if the state were to approve the budget, the AEL would be exempted for schools for that year. And so that would give us some reassurance way earlier in the year that we wouldn't have this fiscal cliff hanging over our heads come March. So optimistic that there'll be some permanent solution to the AEL going forward, which will give us some certainty when we're projecting out our budgets. On the middle, our known budget implications. This is kind of our state or known assumptions. The first bullet, the estimated 2% inflation adjustment to the base level support. So currently, I monitor the state's budget and the state inflation level. There's a statute, state statute that's that's current right now, and which states that if the inflation level is above 2%, the state is minimally obligated to provide a 2% adjustment to the base level support. And as a reminder, the base level support is our per pupil amount that we are allocated by the state. And currently that's at $5,013. And so in this presentation, I'm assuming a 2% increase to that current base level support. Some other knowns, the Arizona State Retirement System, which the district is a mandatory member of. The state retirement system came out with FY26 numbers, and good news for both the district and employees is that those percentages are decreasing. And so for the state retirement system, the ASRS, the amount for the district and the employees is going down to 12%. That's a negative 0.27% reduction. For context, on the district side, that's a savings of about $200,000 for our budget next year. So good news going into next year in regards to that obligation that we have. On the alternative contribution rate, a little lesser known, but this is a rate for employees, state employees who have retired from the system and now have been hired back. And so we have very few individuals that we are employing that have already retired. So the monetary benefit from this percentage decrease, which is greater than the larger plan, is far less. It's approximately $3,000 in savings for 26. So some good news for both the district and employees on that state retirement percentage. On the third column, these are some of our Higley special knowns, I would say. We have continued to transfer M&O dollars to fund our middle school lease payment. We still have 28 years left on our middle school lease payment. Our current obligation for next year, principal and interest, is $3.55 million. And so we'll continue to propose transferring M&O dollars to capital, in which the lease payment must be paid from capital, and so that's why we're transferring to cover our principal and interest payment for next year. The board has previously approved additional transfers from M&O to major projects in the years past. We are not recommending any additional transfer at this time for any major projects. Just highlighting some of the challenges that school districts, not only Higley, but across the nation have faced, is with enrollment. And so just a reminder, our budget formula is largely based on the multiplier of enrollment, right? We take enrollment times the base level support, and that generally gives our budget limit. We're not immune to enrollment loss, and this is again in December, if the board remembers, I presented not only our enrollment loss currently, but our neighboring districts. And we're in line with about 3% loss, and that's across kind of the East Valley. So we're taking some greater projections in terms of enrollment loss into 26. So what this graph represents is the previous 3 years, so fiscal 22 through 24. Those are actual enrollment numbers, both preschool through 8 on the top, and then our secondary 9 through 12 on the bottom. Currently, FY25, that's our current ADM numbers. We'll have some small fluctuations because that's as of December. And then as we audit and reconcile to 100th day ADM numbers, there'll be some small fluctuations with that FY25 number. But what we're focusing on in this presentation is projecting out for 26. And as the board, again, previously approved going into 25, we estimated that we were going to be budgeting to 100 ADM loss. As we've known, and as we looked at the budget in December, we were actually realizing far larger, over 300 in enrollment loss. And so we need to be a little more aggressive with our projections and just match our FY26 projected ADM to a number that's more in line with what we're seeing in our most recent revised budget. So in FY26, we're projecting a 300 unweighted ADM loss. And I've kind of graphed what that 26 would look like on basically off of historical numbers. And so on the preschool through 8, we're continuing to assume a steady decline in elementary. And again, a large part of that is our cohorts are being smaller. Our kinder cohort, as it's smaller this year, and as that moves up through first, second, and fourth, we're seeing that attrition steadily through just smaller cohorts on our lower grades. On our secondary schools, we are starting to see those peak out in some fashion, and so we're starting to budget for a slight decline at our secondary schools for 26. So looking at some of those assumptions, again, projecting out our maintenance and operation budget for FY26. On top is our current revised budget. This was just presented to the board on December 10th. The $125 million, that includes, again, I indicated trending ADM loss because, again, we haven't reconciled the 100th ADM yet, but that trending ADM budget loss is currently at 239. We are transferring not only our middle school lease payment, but the one-time supplemental funds for capital in this year's budget. And we currently have an estimated budget balance carry forward in M&O of $21.5 million. Now, looking at 26 with some of the knowns that I've just alluded to, we're projecting a 300 unweighted ADM decrease. This is be our first year of our override phase down. So as the board's well aware, we did not pass our override continuation in November. We are currently operating year 5 of 5, so this is our last year fully funded. In year 6, we now have to phase down by basically 1/3. That monetary value is about $5.1 million we have to cut from our budget in FY26. And again, I alluded to our unique lease payment, that is $3.55 million. And then estimating with those factors taken into consideration, our estimated budget balance carry forward as is current projected is about $17.5 million. So taking our current budget and doing the difference off our FY26 projected budget, we're looking at a $9.2 million budget decrease that we'll have to address going forward. So one of the main, before I turn over to Sherry to share some of our recommendations that we currently know, one of our main expenditures as a school district is salaries and benefits. And so I'm going to turn it over to Sherry to share some recommendations for 26.
Thank you, Tyler. President Wade, members of the board, with this projected budget decrease of approximately $9.2 million due to both the drop in enrollment and the failure of the HUSD override continuum that was not approved in November, district and school administrators have met several times to make thoughtful and intentional decisions while we continue to ensure our kids are getting the best education possible. We're in the business of developing people, and that includes our educators, our employees, and our students. I've had the privilege of working here for 14 years, and I care so much about the decisions that are being made that impact our employees and our students. So in other words, I love this district. A funding decrease of this magnitude, though, has led to some difficult decisions regarding right-sizing or reallocations moving into next school year. Some considerations include not filling current vacancies, restructuring departments and positions. And as a school district, our top priority in this scenario is to achieve these changes through natural attrition and to fill vacancies with current employees that meet the qualifications to best support our students. The culture of Higley is one thing that makes our district unique and exceptional, and this is not something we plan to relinquish during these challenging circumstances. So in the next 2 slides, you're going to see position recommendations for the 25-26 school year, both at the district and school site levels. And remember, when you're looking at these slides, It's for next school year, not right now. So this first slide represents the recommended reductions or transfers at the district office level. I'm going to say it again. We are going to work so hard to achieve this through natural attrition. We want to support our employees, and we are going to do the very best we can with your support. So when you look at this chart, you'll see there is a district administration position that's being reduced. In addition, there's a maintenance and grounds position reduction. There's also one being transferred to rental funds, which is a positive move in the right direction. I think you're aware that we rent our facilities on a regular basis, and it's been well maintained and operated, and you just approved some changes in those fees. Next, you're going to see a reduction of 4 positions in special education and 1 transfer to IDEA grant funding. Bear in mind, some of these have restructuring plans in the works. Ed services, you're going to see a reduction of 6 positions, with 1.5 being transferred to either foreign exchange funds or to CTE funding. Anytime we can look at our positions and transfer them to other funding sources away from M&O is a positive move. Finance, there are 2 positions within that department that are being reduced. Higley Center for the Performing Arts, you'll see a 1.4. HR and Student Services, 2.5. In transportation, 11 positions. Bear in mind, some of these positions listed on this chart are vacancies that we haven't been able to fill. So a total for the district office is 32.4. Whoops, wrong way. Here we go. All right, next, this slide reflects the school sites. There are 18 positions at the elementary level. Once again, looking at natural attrition. Every year we look at our schools. How many kids do we have in our classes? Do we need to right size appropriately based on enrollment? So what you're seeing on the elementary and secondary teachers is not that unusual than the past couple of years, but it's part of this bigger puzzle that everybody needs to understand. Special ed, 2.8 positions. Custodians, 8 positions. Site administration, 1. Elementary classified, 8. And site information technology, 2. That is a total of 50 positions. Once again, natural attrition, some restructuring, and also some current vacancies. This all adds up to a total of 82.4 FTEs district-wide and a total budget reduction of $5.1 million. So it's essential that we continue to engage with the community to raise awareness about the importance of funding for education and how further support can help the district move forward. By the end of this week, district and campus administration will communicate directly with any departments, campuses, or individuals impacted for the 25-26 school year. We also sent a letter to staff this afternoon. You should have received it as well. While the district is facing significant financial challenges, with the continued support of the community, staff, and policymakers, we can work together to find solutions and ensure that our students' educational needs remain a top priority. The district will continue to communicate, keeping all stakeholders informed of any proposed changes and the rationale behind them. So it goes without saying, I'm a little emotional and I'm trying to keep it together, but we appreciate being able to share this information with you and the rest of the community and our staff. So now I'm going to turn it back over to Mr. Moore.
Madam President, are we going to wait till the end before we make any comments? Is that the protocol?
Honestly, usually we do, in that
Okay.
they go through it and then you
Okay.
can have it. But if you have a question that's addressed right now, it's totally fine.
I just wanted to voice my support. I know it's not easy.
To Sherry's point, the positions are one part of the equation. And so as we continue to work through the budget process, we have kind of another set of variables in which I'm calling or labeling as fixed costs. With it being January and we're 6 months out before our next budget cycle, we are still waiting on a little bit of information, not because of us, but so for example, our insurance carriers don't have rates out yet. Some of these conversations are still being had, and before presenting budget numbers, I want to make sure that we're confident with those numbers and that they're going to be numbers that we can utilize in projections going forward. So we're still working through property casualty insurance, workers' compensation. Again, our reinsurance carriers don't have our new year rates yet, and so waiting for those before we provide numbers. Utilities, we're reconciling our utilities. Some pros, this is year 2 of Town of Gilbert's increases, so we should be relatively flat in terms of those rates that we're being charged. We also are looking at being a little more aggressive with how we monitor our utilities and manage those. So over breaks, weekends, or off times in which we are not using sites or rooms are not being used, we're going to be a little more aggressive with how we manage those temperatures, whether we turn stuff on or off, with being respectful with facilities that are being used or being rented. And so that's one area we're looking at. On the flip side, SRP did come out with a notice that they're researching their rates. We did get a letter from SRP saying if any rate increases were to take place, they would be in November of the following fiscal year. So it's kind of like a mid-year hit. So we'll be projecting some conservative budget numbers for that in anticipation of a rate increase. I don't think they've ever said they're coming out with rate increase and not increased. So unfortunate news there. Our department and school budgets, this is a small portion of our total operational budget. We do allocate school budgets based on ADM. Those budgets are used to buy paper and a lot of your daily needs. Our department budgets annually meet with our department heads to discuss our department budgets. We're finalizing some of those conversations, but we have made some reductions across the board in regards to all our department spend. And so hoping those decreases will offset some increases we'll more than likely see on the insurance and utilities. But just we're still early in the budget conversations, and so some of these will come back in February and or March when we have final numbers. So what we do know as of now, as I've just presented, the FY26 projected proposed budget of $116 million represents a decrease from our current year budget of $9.2 million. What Sherry just presented was position recommendations going for 26 of $5.1 million and reduced M&O budgeted positions, which would still leave us right now at a projected budget deficit of $4.1 million. One thing I want the board to maybe get comfortable with or entertain is the idea of us, again, it's not sustainable, but budgeting next year to a deficit and utilizing some of our carry forward that we've accumulated with COVID relief dollars to sustain some of our programs for a greater period of time while we go through this transition. So again, it's not something I would recommend ongoing for a long period of time, but we have a carry forward that is large, and utilizing that to continue our support for our schools is something I would like the board to either entertain or provide me any feedback if that's something they feel comfortable. As CFO of the district, it's difficult for me to put up there or budget or recommend budgeting to a deficit, but I do feel we have the contingencies in place to do that for a year or maybe two and continue some of the supports that we have at our schools for an extended period of time. So just looking ahead, we have our next 4 board meetings and looking at February 4th, we'll bring a second review of this. I hope to have some more information with some of the to be determined items. One thing we will start with district administration and with our site leaders is looking at a phase 2. So we know going into 26, we have to reduce our override by 1/3. We currently don't have a resolution or any sort of authority right now to put a continuation on November. So district administration, I think it's prudent to go through the process of looking at the next phase of the continuation phase down. We'll bring forth those recommendations. On March 4th, I'll bring a 3rd review, and like I've stated, we typically ask the board for tentative approval of this budget so we can, HR can issue contracts. One tidbit is contracts are all districts are aligned on March 15th. No district can issue any earlier. So kind of puts us all in the same playing field, but that is the soonest board meeting in which prior to we can issue contracts. So at that same board meeting, we hope to present, again, not only the phase 2 projections, but have the board either give district consideration whether you would like to consider going for an override continuation in this upcoming election. With the information on phase 2 and an exercise that district administration will go through, you'll have both recommendations of either continuing the phase down or the option to put the continuation back on the November ballot. So that timeline, we hope just the board gives us some direction. On April, we'll switch the conversation to the other side of our state budget, which is our capital budget. We'll have our first review of our FY26 capital budget. On the first review, I would strongly consider bringing forth some recommendations considering a possible sale, lease, or exchange of real property for our land that is, would it be west of Target? We have 18 acres of property back there. With the continued failure of bonds, we have and are still in need of capital funding. This is an alternative solution to garner additional dollars for the district to use to support some of our capital needs, which would be potentially selling, leasing, or exchanging our vacant property. So we'll bring forth that conversation on April, and then April 22nd, we'll look forward for tentative approval for our capital budget. Again, that's to get ahead of the purchases that we typically make prior to the school year starting, so items that take extenuated time to come in for delivery. Large HVAC units are still 12 weeks, 18 weeks out, and so with our capital plan, we'd like to make those purchases ahead of time, and so we have those in July with our short summer window. Us getting started back on July 17th, we have limited time to get into sites and make those capital improvements for the next school year. So with that, we'll be happy to take any questions.
All right. Madam President, may I? First of all, Mr. Lottenheiser, after I'm having a hard time hearing you clearly, Mr. Moore, and I think it might be the speaker, but can we just check your mic? Not right now. We can do it after, before everyone packs up. I hear you guys fine. It was just really hard to hear. I don't know if one of these is out or something, but it was, you heard that. But I understood everything you said, but it was just hard. I didn't want to stare at your mouth, but it was a little bit hard to hear. Okay, so first I just want to say, when you enter into the educational world, and this is to everybody that's out there as well, you heard some of these folks when they were here talking about who did you bring. I brought my family and I brought my school family. When we talk about some of the cuts we're talking about, I know it's not easy. I know it's not easy for you. I know it's not easy for the cabinet. I've lived through these before. It's terrible. These are human beings. These are people we work with, we live with, we sweat with, we grieve with, we celebrate with. It's a difficult thing. So I acknowledge the work you're doing, and you presented, you did a good presentation, and that would have been very difficult for me. And it will be difficult when we ultimately make some of these decisions. But I also wanted to say to our people, in a school budget, generally speaking, and Mr. Moore, correct me if I'm wrong, I don't want to give misinformation, but when you talk about a school's budget, about 70 to 80% generally goes to M&O. And of that 70, of the M&O, of that percentage, 70 to 80% is really just people. And it's salaries and benefits. So when you have to make cuts, we can cut things, but ultimately, when you have to make these cuts, it's people. It's the people in our community that signed up for a job to make our community a better place. And so that's what we are talking about. That's not an easy thing. And so when you cut staff and you cut some of the supports for staff, that makes everyone's job just a little bit harder. So, one of our responsibilities, or things that we worry about as board members, or that I worry about, I shouldn't speak for others, is teacher retention, staff retention, not just teacher retention, staff retention. So I would just encourage Mr. Armstrong, Mr. Lotzenheiser, all of you, to just start thinking about and ask the staff, what things can we take away? Because we're taking away people, but what other responsibilities can we take that will make your life a little bit easier? Because we are asking our teachers to do so much more than they ever have done. The school day hasn't gotten any longer. Salaries are, have gone up, modestly since I've been around here. But we just continue to ask more and more. And our state keeps adding things, and we have to add this, and we have to provide that. It's a lot, and it might be a worthwhile conversation. And sometimes some of these things don't even cost any money, but it's time and things that we do because we've always done. I would just encourage those conversations when you have to make cuts, cutting some of the things that we just don't need to maybe do anymore, or as a waste of time. And just as an example, way back in Gilbert days, way before the internet, I've been teaching a long time, so in the 90s, the kids that lived in Gilbert didn't travel the world or couldn't see the world via the internet. So Gilbert started a program that was called Art Masterpiece, and parents would come in. It was a good way for parents to come in and be involved, and it was a way for kids to learn about artwork from around the world. But now we have the internet, and so our art teachers can show them all these works of arts, and we have plenty of other opportunities for parents to come in, but we still continue to do Art Masterpiece, and it takes away, it's just a day, a month, a couple times a year that, teachers have to rearrange their schedule and all this stuff. It's sometimes an added stressor for teachers. So these are just things I would just ask you to have these conversations. As we make cuts, try to, ask people what else we can take away off their workload. Thank you.
President Wade, Mr. Moore. So last night I asked for a list of positions that are budgeted but not filled, vacancies, and you provided the $5.1 million that's shown on page 8. So at one point, the state legislator had a 4% cap on our carryover, and they got rid of that cap, but we've functioned anywhere between 6 and 11 million carry forward within our district, and our enrollment was much higher. And I don't know what the percentage of our carry forward is today. I don't know what it equates to based on my calculation. I would say about 13%.
Closer to 20.
So carry forward closer to 20. So yeah, I mean, even when we had a 4% cap, we functioned, and our enrollment was much higher, and the amount that we're getting now is much higher. And so with our current budget, we've got $17 million more. When you compare our budget to our actuals of what we spent last year, we've got there's a $17 million difference. And even with that $5.1 million reduction, that would, sorry, let me read my notes. So, you know, we're having to re-sign employment and terminations and all these changes, but why can't we just simply eliminate the excess budget capacity, and then, you know, there's not this impact? So out of the total positions listed, there are 16 positions vacant, which equate to, based on the numbers you provided today, so that equates to $665,000. I support moving positions to different funding sources. That's great that we can do that. And that allows us to preserve positions without, you know, affecting staff. And then obviously with declining enrollment, we can justify the cuts, and I get that. But as far as the funding, like, we have this very large budget capacity. So my concern is, aside from the declining enrollment, is there a possibility to retain some of our teachers by just cutting the budget capacity and utilize that to reduce our class sizes? Not only would that benefit our teachers, it gets money into the classroom, but it's also a great way to, it's like the best advertisement you can give, like small class sizes, you know, and that attracts families. So, you know, I appreciate all the work that you guys have put into this. And there, you know, and I understand that for instance, the 11 bus driver positions, those are positions, as you mentioned, that are open, have not been filled. So it's not like we're getting rid of, you know, current bus drivers. That's not the case. And I want the community to understand that. There are many positions here that nobody is sitting in. They're vacant. So I would like to see if, you know, by cutting these unutilized funds, allow us to preserve our teachers, and in order to avoid unnecessary layoffs, and then be able to, you know, that will allow us to prioritize student outcomes by putting these teachers in classrooms and reducing our class sizes. And I mean, we have the money in our carry forward, and we've functioned before, as I said, with higher number of students. We have less students now, and if we can work this around to preserve our teachers, and you know, I mean, that would be a great opportunity. And I know you've mentioned before that we don't like using our carry forward, and we're saving it for a rainy day. Well, I mean, what is considered a rainy day? Is this not a rainy day? So I'd love to see it used in that way. Money to the classroom, smaller classroom sizes, and we get to preserve our teachers. Thank you.
President Wade, Member Van Hook, can I just comment on that? I think so. What I've heard is, so you would recommend keeping the 5.1 million in reductions, with the exception of the vacancies, save, you know, positions that are not filled. So, you know, if we assume that so maybe it's an $8.5 million deficit that we'll take into the next year, that would bring our carry forward down to 13 million. That's not sustainable on an ongoing basis. We'd be kicking the can down the road, for a greater layoff in maybe 27 or 28. What I'm saying right here is $9.2 million is the deficit that, so we take all the positions that are being budgeted, all the department budgets, against our state-approved budget balance, our state-approved budget, and we're realizing a $9.2 million deficit for next year. We can certainly sustain that and drain our carry forward, but that is not an ongoing solution. We would just be kicking this reduction down the road to next year. And so what we've recommended is almost a phased reduction by budgeting to a deficit of $4 million. Again, that's not the final number, but is to steadily make some, I would say, right sizing, right, is the kind of word that we're utilizing for enrollment loss, while saving, basically the deficit is saving all these positions in the override while the board considers potentially going out for continuation again. So certainly the board approves the budget, and if that's the direction the board wants to go, I would just heavily advise to consider the implications for 27 will be double what you're seeing tonight, because you're just kicking the can down the road, assuming enrollment loss continues at the rate it is, but it is an option. But I'm just saying we'll basically just be kicking the can down the road. So,
Go ahead.
President Wade, Mr. Moore, I understand what you're saying, but I also want everyone to understand the reason why our carryover is so large is because of the COVID money. And where would we be if that COVID money didn't exist? There's decisions that we would have made to ensure that the budget that we had prior to COVID, that was sustainable. And we need to go back to functioning in that manner, knowing, we should have functioned in that manner, knowing this money wasn't permanent. And so we've budgeted, we've got a large carry forward. We need to be able to go back and function in a manner that is just the money that we're receiving. We know there's no COVID money, and we need to be able to utilize this money that we have, and allow us to get that money into the classroom. And, if I may, I'd like to read something that I wrote. So the district went out for a bond and override against expert advice, and they both failed. The bond committee made a huge mistake by putting both on the ballot, even though higher ground representatives advised against it. And now here we are. When the salary proposals were presented to us last year, the only option given to us was a 3% raise across the board. I tried to make the case that it would be better to give teachers a 3% raise and limit administration to a 1%. A 3% raise for admin, given their higher salaries, is far more than what teachers would have gotten. Again, nobody listened to me, and that is why I voted no. Unfortunately, it was misinterpreted that I didn't support teachers by voting no, and that was not the case. I asked Mr. Moore at the time if salaries would be sustainable, and he reassured both myself and board member Anderson at the time that it was sustainable. But in reality, it was sustainable with the hopes that the override would pass. And we need to ensure that, as far as we've, I think you showed on there the land that was on, yeah. So, we're not making payments on that land. We're not paying taxes. It's a revenue source. I also recommended possibly considering, we do have 7 schools that are under 60% capacity, possibly considering, consolidating a couple of the schools. It's expected that our enrollment's going to drop even more next year. And after consolidation, we can possibly have a revenue source by leasing out those schools to bring in more funding. But again, like, we need to scrutinize also spending. When you look at the vouchers, there's a lot of wants versus needs, and we prioritize our budgets when expenses get tight, and the district needs to do the same. And our concerns about lack of with enrollment going down, we also need to consider what is it that we're doing that isn't working, and what are other districts doing that is working, that is attracting our students. I've spoken on many issues that the parents that I know that have pulled their children and why they're leaving. I've asked to remove certain things from our district in order to preserve students, and that request has been ignored. And so, if we're truly caring about our declining enrollment, we really need to look at what's causing it, other than birth rate, because there are other reasons. The best form of marketing is word of mouth, and sadly, when I see, even in my own neighborhood Facebook page, when parents ask, which high school is better, Perry or another school in Chandler, when they live in our district, it's sad to see. And anytime I see that conversation, it's heartbreaking that there's not positive stuff being said, and that people are seeking alternatives to our district. So all these things, I think, need to be looked at. And if we could spend some of this carryover and go back to functioning like we were prior to COVID, then, I'd rather do that than see us laying teachers off. That's all. Thank you.
Board Member Van Hook, I wish to take some time to address some of the things that you are expressing, because I think in large parts I agree with you in certain ways, but I also think you're expressing things sometimes that seem counterintuitive. So, for example, having worked in this district previously, when we have had to make cuts and when we were operating at a very minimal carry forward, functioning does not equal thriving. And that is a very important distinction, in that not only you throughout your speech, other individuals who have spoken before us today alone, as well as in the past, talk about how we are always competing to get kids. What do we do to capture people? What do we do? The expectation that we would maintain a stagnant budget and still be capable of doing that is disingenuous. It is impossible for us to both create the best teachers, because look, I lived in this district and worked in this district, and teaching is a small world. And you will hear people talk about, when I first got hired, and I recognize that we have come a long way, so I need to emphasize, I came back here for a reason. Everybody told me I was crazy for coming to Higley. The salary was low, the stress was high, and the things that they were experiencing, you didn't experience elsewhere. And part of that reason is because we were functioning, not thriving. And it is hard as a staff to put up with. You add to that the stress of teaching over the last several years. It has been studied, it is documented. We talk about the stress that staff and students are experiencing all the time here. And again, functioning does not equal thriving. Teachers will make it work. We are some of the craftiest individuals, like individuals who have nothing learn how to figure it out, right? People who don't have money learn how to budget, we figure it out. Staff that doesn't have the resources, we figure it out. And to Mr. Glover's point, I'm so very grateful for your recommendation to talk about ways in which we can say, hey, staff, what is something that you just don't need to do? Because not only do we have these extra things, we're asked more of us. We talk about the COVID funding and why we shouldn't have just stockpiled it. And to some extent, you are right. We keep that carry forward to help float when things get tough. And that is literally what is happening right now. Instead of taking that budget cut of the 9 point whatever it is that we have to do, we are looking at what ways can we look at positions that aren't filled. Fine, we have been operating under them. We will continue to function as they are. We have normal attrition all the time because teachers move, they want promotions, or they look at different opportunities and everything else. So when it comes to laying off, we may not. We may not. That still exists as a possibility, depending on what things shake as March comes around and everything else. And I hope that we not only have staff that recognize that they are valued and desired here, and we are working hard to create that, and I feel greatly that our administration has done that. And Mr. Moore, a lot of that is to your credit in ways in which you have looked at things, because you not only look at numbers, which I think matters, but you also recognize that it's tied to people. And so every time you have made recommendations that are difficult, I am grateful that you at least appreciate the difficulty and the weight behind that. We saved that COVID money because we knew these things were happening. And so I hear you, and I think we are correct. We are now at a point in which, yes, we are moving into that carry forward. To Mr. Moore's point, to just go through and take it all right now, it is easier to operate with a little bit less each time. Right? It's like the frog in the pot. You can sit there and you can feel it a little bit each time, but if you pull the rug out from under me, I am definitely going to feel that. And so if we can do it in this fashion where we can make it slower and we say, okay, here are the hurts that we're already experiencing, here's how we can offset, and let's see what new hurts we have going forward. And dear Lord, maybe we can appeal to this community to remind them of what it looks like when we just function. Higley, in the last 8 years, has made a remarkable turnaround. Remarkable. We are thriving. And part of that is because the decisions that the admin has made to look at staff and students and figure out what it is that they need, and we routinely do that here. As far as the bond and the override, I think it is disingenuous to say that experts didn't recommend it. Our district recommended it. They would be the experts in this situation, and I appreciate the care and the time and the consideration they took to that. Our community didn't go for a bond, like so many communities throughout our state, and a large part of that is because our state budgets in a way that makes us have to beg, and that is hard, because everybody is feeling the hardship of inflation and everything else. When it came to the override, we barely lost. But we still lost. The idea that we shouldn't ask for these things or we shouldn't do these things, I agree that it is an absolute frustration. We should angle that towards our state legislatures and say, this is too much. It is painful repetitively. And we see it across the board. And part of that reason is because the expectation is that we are to function and not thrive. And then what's worse, when we function, we get left and right told all the ways in which we are failing. That is a hard space to exist. If you don't provide us the funding and the support that we need, and then you get mad when we go out of the way to take the best. We want the best staff. We want the best students. We want the best program. Those things cost money. And if we don't continue to grow, we will absolutely fall to the side. Another number I wish to challenge is your 60% capacity. Most of our schools are K through 8 when they were originally built. Almost all of our elementaries, I think somebody wasn't, but that Bridges, because they're new. Okay. They're K through 8. What that means is they're designed to have a larger student body than a K through 6. So when we say 60% capacity, this does not mean that we are paying staff for only 60% of the students. We give FTE based on the students available. So the schools that are at 60% capacity is because we have space. And unlike in Mesa that is ancient and had portables and those types of things, we don't have that because they were built as a K through 8. These numbers matter, the details matter. So yes, while they are operating at 60% capacity, that is 60% of what the building is capable, not 60% of what we are paying for. Those things matter. And so I think it's important as we go through, this next year is going to be rough. And as far as staff, having been a staff that had to do this and having to sit through an administration that talked to you in a way that showed you they did not care, I appreciate the care and the effort and the concern that has gone through here today, because this is not easy. And so I appreciate that, and I think it's important to keep in mind we are in a position that other districts are not. And part of that reason is because of the admirable work and the attention to detail with respect to financing that we have done to put us in a position where we may not have to have massive rifts like some of our other neighboring districts are.
President Wade, I just want, the exact words that were going through my mind is that there's a difference between functioning and thriving. I just wanted to say a couple things. I know that was very hard for you, Mrs. Richards, to get through, and hard for Mr. Moore and all of you to work through this, and I appreciate the care that you've taken and what we're able to do. I appreciate the fact that we do have the carry forward, so we are able to absorb some of this, and I'm hopeful that the community, we won't have to go so far down the road before they understand that the override is not a want but a need for us, and that we do have to beg for it as a school district. I also just want to clarify the drop in enrollment is largely due to the birth rate. We are not the only district. We are not the only city. It is across the country. In fact, I just learned it was across the world that they are experiencing a decline in enrollment because people are having less babies. And you'll notice it in our numbers and the way we start with kindergarten, and it works its way up. So I just want to say that I appreciate all that you've done, and that I won't get into that any further, but I will just thank you.
President Wade, I'm kind of new here, obviously, but I just want to tell you all that you're doing a great job. It is wonderful that you guys are being melodic, touching base with the admin and seeing where certain things are. Honestly, the economy's not great. Honestly, I know in a lot of people's personal budgets, they're having to kind of reassess and touch base. So I just want to commend you guys that you guys are doing a great job, and we all have valid points, and we do need to touch base on all of these things. Yes, it's helpful to recruit more students and all those kind of things. These are all contributions and factors that we have to navigate. But I am so grateful for everybody's insight that we can touch base on all of those different things. Thank you.
Madam President, thank you, Mrs. Sharman. Congratulations, that was your first time talking publicly. Good job. I just wanted to add a couple of things, and Mr. Moore may attack me in the parking lot later for saying it, but you know, when school districts budget, sometimes we do have unfilled jobs, and that does end up with a little bit of money left over at the end, but it is certainly not enough to mitigate the numbers that we are seeing. That work still has to be done. You know, when you're short a custodian, the garbage is either going to pile up or someone's going to do it. And you're working in an environment where you have people that will continuously pitch in and do it. If I had a magic wand, the people who do those things, I would give them a stipend or something, because it is a little bit left over that you do have at the end of the year. It's something that's always irked me and bothered me. Because people just do what needs to be done, and that's the kind of people that we have in public education in this country. I'd also want to say that when overrides sunset, just to explain further, you have a grace period where 1/3 of what you were spending is cut, and that you have to make some serious plans. The next year it's 2/3, and then it's gone. So the state allowed for that, for us to have to do that. Charter schools don't have to do that. But we have to go out and we have to ask every 5 years, is it 5 or 7? 5, to get that reapproved. And it seems like, you know, we're taxing again and again and again, but that's just the way the system was designed. It's confusing deliberately, but we can't, magical thinking and magical math isn't going to get us out of this. Okay, we can't have it all. Some of these cuts are going to hurt. I wish they wouldn't. I can wish all I want, but they're going to hurt. The other thing I just wanted to add is, you know, I'm of Scottish ancestry, so that means deep pockets and short arms. I'm frugal, so, and you're allowed to laugh at that. That's supposed to be funny. You don't have to, now I feel like I just made you do that. But one of the things when you carryovers are important. Excessive carryovers, this is things that teachers and staff kind of fight about all the time. But it affects your bond ratings, which means you're paying interest. And as a Scotsman, I don't like paying interest. I want to pay as little as possible. So when you don't have strong carryovers, it does affect your bond rating, right? And you end up paying more in interest and things like that, which is stuff that we could use to put into our classrooms to pay teachers more, et cetera. So this is just another little thing to think about as the carryover will disappear. I mean, it will shrink. It has to.
President Anderson.
She's not here.
Oh, I'm sorry. Habit, sorry. President Wade. So when I say function, I don't mean like survive. Again, he mentioned that our carryover is at about 20%. And that's a large carryover. That's not surviving. That's not functioning. And even at, if we were just to cut $5 million from our current carryover, that would leave us $12 million. That's still an amazing carry forward. And so, obviously when salaries are introduced and staff, admin present the salaries and it's their salaries. Who's going to argue against their own salary being increased? We hired Higher Ground as the expert to tell us whether they should both be put on the ballot. That is the expert that we paid. We spent almost $200,000 to put the bond and override on that ballot with the expenses of Higher Ground and paying per voter for that to go on the ballot. And so that was the expert that the district used. So when I say expert, that's who I'm talking about. But again, we have a good amount in our carry forward, and if we're going to be using it for a rainy day, this is a rainy day, and we should be utilizing that money. And when we say deficit, like we're in a deficit, that word is kind of misleading because in reality, it's just a deficit from where we want to be, not necessarily where we're at. And so I want to make it clear that it's not, we've worked with less money. It's not, I just don't like the word deficit being utilized in this situation because we've got a good sum in our carry forward. Thank you.
Sorry, just one final point before we move on. Something else we have to keep in mind with that excess and carryover, as you describe it. We also have aging buildings, and our bonds did not pass. And so this summer in August, Williams Field was without AC, and we have to think about those types of things. We have, I don't remember, Cortina. It was Cortina that had something. Is it not? Look at that. Look at me remembering.
The water
Yes.
main broke.
And so I also think some of these things, again, to express to the community, we have to ask ourselves what it is that we hope to accomplish, because at the end of the day, we legally are required to provide a certain set of things for the students that come to us. That is our legal obligation, not only to our community, but to any student who desires to come here. And it would be a dereliction of our duty if we did not think long-term. And so again, I just am grateful for the preparation that we did, knowing this was on the horizon. We've known that carry forwards and overrides and things like that are difficult to pass. Our own district's history is for them to not pass, then for us to feel what that feels like for a period of time before then they pass, and we try to, work to recoup. In this effort, maybe we will experience it differently this year. So I appreciate that. Any other comments or concerns before we move on to action items? So moving on to action item 8.1, discussion of board meeting start time. It tells me I'm supposed to turn to you, Ms. Schultz, Vice President Schultz.
Thank you, President Wade. I asked for this to be an agenda item. We had moved the meeting start time from 5 p.m. to 6 p.m. As a few members of the community had asked for this. Since then, those members of the community haven't attended the meetings, and it hasn't increased our meeting attendance at all. What I have heard is how late our evenings are, how late it is for our cabinet to be here, and late for other staff and members of the community. Given our ending times sometimes go 9, 9:30, 10 o'clock, it was discussed that our Points of Pride was 45 minutes long. So if you want to attend the meeting, maybe you would miss the Points of Pride, and we would start at 5:45, unless that's something that we're looking at shortening, which I don't believe we are. But you would still be able to attend the meeting. Possibly it's something where we would be able to allow for requests to speak to happen after the Points of Pride, if it's a matter of people getting here on time. But I think it would make things easier on our staff, our admin, and all of us, rather than being here until 10 o'clock at night.
President Wade, I would like to say something. While finishing early in the evening it could potentially be helpful, but starting meetings at 5 p.m. instead of 6 p.m. creates a real challenge for families. Extracurricular activities often run right after school, and 5 p.m. is a common time for families to have dinner and catch up during a busy day. We've already seen how the earlier start time made it harder for people to attend when meetings were held, but obviously you're stating otherwise. But in my opinion, it disrupts routines and limits participation, which reduces the community's involvement, is what I would believe. Sticking with a 6 p.m. start time, I believe, strikes a better balance, allowing families to stay engaged for a quick minute while managing their other commitments they have. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Herman. I just want to say that I was open to giving it a try to see if more community members would attend and be involved, and it didn't happen. So to me, it didn't work, and we're keeping people here longer, and my kids' curricular activities start at 6:30, so I would argue that there are both early activities and later activities, and I also eat at either 4 or 9:30 p.m., depending on their activities as well. Thank you.
President Wade, moving meetings back to 5 p.m. would create challenges for many in our community. With the current 6 p.m. start time, we can hold executive sessions at 5 when needed. If meetings start at 5, executive sessions would be at 4, and that's a huge problem for those of us who work. That's one reason why we changed it to 6 p.m. The decision to move to 6 p.m. last year was in direct response to feedback from families, teachers, and board members. Many people supported the change, and it's been working well. Why undo a thoughtful decision that reflects what our community asked for? We're already the only district in the East Valley to start meetings this early. Most districts begin at 7 p.m., so our 6 p.m. start time is already a compromise that balances accessibility with practicality. It allows parents to have dinner with their families, gives teachers time to wrap up the day, and helps board members manage their work, families, and personal responsibilities before having to be here for the meeting. Changing it now would upset that balance and make it harder for people to participate. Keeping meetings at 6 ensures that people can attend, stay engaged, and feel part of the process. Changing the time back to 5 is completely unnecessary and doesn't serve the community. Even those who can't attend in person prefer the 6 p.m. because it allows them to get off work and be able to watch it from home or on their way home from work. If there's a specific concern behind the proposal, we should address them directly rather than reversing the decision that works for most of our community. The 6 o'clock start time is a practical choice that aligns with our goal to serve everyone. Let's stick to what works and keep our meetings accessible and welcoming as many people as possible, instead of assuming that nobody's paying attention just because they might not be here. And so for me, it's very difficult because I don't get off work until 4:30, and I mentioned this last time when we voted to move the time. And you know, this allows me to be able to get off work and get ready and be able to have something to eat before attending the board meetings. And so I truly don't understand the purpose of moving it, because you might not see people in the audience, but that doesn't mean they're not paying attention and they're not watching. So I ask that we remain at 6. It's a new board, it's a new year, and see what the attendance ends up being. And if, we don't see attendance or involvement, then we could maybe possibly consider changing at that time. But, even for me, it's very difficult to be able to get off work and rush over here. So that's all.
Madam President. So I don't have a preference one way or the other, but I will say I am an early riser. So you're approaching my bedtime already right now. I think what people are really wanting to have and see are shorter board meetings, and I realize I'm part of the problem. I've rambled a little bit tonight. I will work on, I'm out of practice a little bit, and so I will work on being succinct and get my big questions answered. I don't think I threw a bunch of questions at you guys yet, but I like to do those before the meetings to get it all ironed out, and then if there's something that I feel the public needs to know. So I will work on being better at that. The only thing I want to add to this conversation is I wouldn't mind hearing from our constituents. So if people want to email me, I'd love to hear that. I'd love to get feedback from the staff members as well as how they feel about it. So I'm not committed one way or the other. Whatever is best for the majority of this community is what I will do.
President Wade, Mr. Glover, I want to be clear. The reason that I brought this forward was because of feedback from the community and the staff. I honestly don't know that one is better for me. Yes, the board meetings are extra long, needlessly, most of the time. So that does present a problem. But it was the feedback from the community and the staff that I asked to bring this forward.
Okay, thank you.
I wish to add to that, because prior to seeing this on the agenda, I actually already had some parents and staff honestly talk to me about the board time frame. I personally, my preference, I think, is irrelevant with respect to the larger whole, because I have flexibility. If I need a sitter, those kinds of things. One thing I wish to express is that outwardly, you're trading one problem for another. So I think it's important to understand that there are always going to be some community who are better served by a 5 o'clock and some community who are better served by a 6 o'clock. I don't think there is any solution that could possibly exist that would create, peace and harmony for all. So the idea of that, I think, does matter. I also think of the obligation with respect to staff. Just in general, I think for those parents who can come here for points of pride and do the recognition and even, public speaking, we can see it at this current board meeting. There were not enough seats for the people who were here. And then after all of that is done, everybody leaves. And so if the argument is that people need to be home with their families, well, then that's still possible. That's still actively happening. And in this case, if I was a point of pride recipient, we can go out to a restaurant and celebrate, and I'm not on a limited time schedule. I think there is always a scenario that we can create that will be, this works for me and my family, and this is hardship here or whatever. I think to Mr. Glover's point, there is benefit in maybe sharing with the current board members what some of that is. And if you are a community member who is listening to this, obviously you can email us. Be sure to note that there are 2 new board members and make sure you have the spelling right and all that jazz. But I think maybe we could look at revisiting this after we get some of that, if it's easier for people to make a decision. I have no idea the way the vote's going to go at the present. I think there is something to be said about the fact that there has been no observable change in the last 6 months from what we've seen in terms of people who arrive, and you're trading one problem for another, so they are always going to exist. For the staff members that go to work and then hang out at the building, which is great, I know you always can find work to do. This is just another hour before you can go home. And I at the end of the day, will always do what I can to respect teachers and their time and their energy, because you are constantly exhausted. So I would like to motion to table it, essentially, and then maybe we can get some of that and decide. If we don't, second and move forward with that, we can also obviously vote and see where we stand currently. I'm cool either way.
President.
Okay, and a second, my motion. Do we have to vote on that right now, or can we express certain things? Do you care either way?
Could I say something? Or
Madam President, you do need to vote on the motion that's on the floor.
Okay.
And then Ms. Schultz can comment.
Okay. Before the vote?
Go ahead.
Okay. So I can motion for the vote and then ask for comments before we vote, or we have to vote first? I'm just trying to understand.
Madam President, Higley Unified doesn't have rules of order that discuss when the board can comment or state. So typical protocol, and you're the one that you've been following all evening, is that comment is held before the vote.
Okay.
So if you want to, if somebody else does want to have a comment, I would go ahead and take that now. But typically, comment should conclude, then there would be a motion and a vote right after.
So that's on me. I see it. I see it. All right, good talk. Go ahead.
I'm actually fine.
You have nothing? I'm so glad you pointed out my mistake here, just to say nothing.
President Wade,
Okay, go
I
ahead.
do want to point something out. Board Member Schultz mentioned that sometimes board meetings are long needlessly, and I just want to point that out, that asking questions and requesting answers is not needless. And as I mentioned earlier in my speech, I tend to be the only one that asks questions, that comes here prepared and request answers, not only to educate myself as a board member, but also for our community members. So it's not needless. It's very important so that our community has the answers that they need. Thank you.
All those in favor of tabling 8.1, discussion of board meeting start time?
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Motion carries 5-0 to table. I hope you're taking adequate notes, because I did not write down who seconded all that jazz. So, good times. Thanks. It's a lot going on at the present moment. All right. Next on the agenda is 9 future agenda items. Does anybody have any future agenda items for governing board to have running record of potential items to be placed on future agenda? All right, great, good talk. We move on to 10.1 executive session pursuant to ARS 38-431.03 A1. I motion that the governing board adjourn to executive session pursuant to ARS 38-431.03 A1 for discussion or consideration of employment, assignment, appointment, promotion, demotion, dismissal, salaries, disciplining, or resignation of a public officer, appointee, or employee of any public body. Ms. Van Hook seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Yeah, when we move in there, all that jazz.